Hey, welcome to a new video. In today's video, I want to share something with you that I do on every video that I make. How to make your image look, in my opinion, more cinematic, a little bit softer and way more pleasing to the eye. To show you a quick example, this is the image straight out of camera. Now you can have a look at what the image will look like if I do like a basic color correction and color grading. And finally, this is the fully edited image. What do you guys think about this last image? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm gonna show you that you can also use these things on just maybe footage that you got from just your phone. Before we get started, don't forget to leave that thumbs up if you find this video helpful, and you can also check out other tutorials that I've made on Final Cut Pro, and if that's your thing, don't hesitate to subscribe. All right, now I'm just going to show you the different steps that I take and the different effects and tools that I use to get to that final image. So we are in Final Cut Pro. I have my 3 clips. So the first one, which is straight out of camera, the same exact clip with just basic color grading and color correction, and the last one using those 2 tricks that I'm going to talk about that smooth out your image. For those of you who are not familiar with how Final Cut Pro works, you know, all these different tools you have access to. Before watching this video, I would advise you to go quickly check out those 2 more in-depth and longer video I've made on color correcting and color grading, where I'll tell you all about the different tools you have access to and what all the settings are for and how to use them, etc. I'm not going to get into much details in that video. Anyway, so I'm going to show you how to go from this basic color grading, color correction to this final one. So there's not like a specific order to do so, but the first thing I personally like to do, and my first trick, is to fade out your image. As you can see right here, it's a little bit more faded, right? To do so, what I do is I add a color curve. So let's open everything up. To the right, as you can see, I've done the basic color grading using the color wheels, and I've fixed colors and worked on colors with a hue saturation curve. What I want to do now is I want to go to my color grading and add here a color curve. I'm not going to get into too much details, but just to let you know, this line is your blacks, this line is your shadows, this line is your mid-tones, this line is your highlights, and that line is your whites. So to give this faded look to my image, what I want to do is bring up my blacks and bring down my whites. So what I do is pretty simple. I just put one point right here in my mid-tones, and then I come here and drag my black points up a little bit. And then I do the opposite with my whites. I bring them down a little. So if I turn my color curve off, this is the base we had. And if I turn it on, you can see that we've had faded out our image, right? So by using this 3 points technique, you can see that we have lowered our highlights a little bit, and we've brought up our shadows as well, right? Here, to me, the image is a little bit too faded. As you can see in the final look, we have a little bit more of contrast, right? So to fix that, I'm gonna go to my color wheel. Regardless of the colors, for that clip I had done basic exposure adjustments, so we're just gonna set back all the exposure adjustments that I have right here. The image looks quite faded right now, right? So now we're just gonna have to adjust it accordingly, and this is where my second tip comes in. So what I recommend, instead of using the highlights and shadows to create contrast, what I like to do is to create contrast in my mid-tones. So I'm starting by bringing down my mid-tones a little, then I'm gonna adjust my highlights slightly. I'm rarely going all the way to 100, and then I'm playing with my shadows a little, but I don't want to bring them down too much. Take my mid-tones right here, and I'm gonna bring them past the maximum right here, and then I'm adjusting my highlights and shadows accordingly. And now I've replicated the exact same look in my final image. So as you can see right here, my shadows are just slightly down, and then I've played with my mid-tones. I brought them down to create a little bit of contrast, and then adjusted my highlights. There's no like right or wrong, you know, you should adjust according to your footage and the look you want to go for. But my tip here is basically using the mid-tones to create a contrast instead of the shadows. In that way, in combination with the color curve we've done previously, you end up having a slightly faded image, but with some contrast. Now, if I quickly go back to what we've done, right? So we have our color curve right here that gives this faded look to our footage, and we've adjusted our contrast using the color wheels. So now that it's fully edited, just to show you what it will look like without the color curve, That's how it will look like. And if you just turn on the color curve, in the end it's pretty subtle, but I think it makes your image look way smoother. So now that I've showed you how to do that on a great camera footage, I'm gonna show you how to do it on some footage that you've shot on your phone. So the previous footage I've used was shot on my Sony A7IV, so I have a lot of dynamic range. And now I'm gonna use some footage that I've shot on my iPhone 12 mini. So I'm just gonna use this Instagram story that I've made. By the way, if you guys wanna come say hi on Instagram, the link is gonna be in the description below. So this is not a HDR media. I turned this off on my iPhone because Final Cut Pro doesn't do well with HDR medias. I'm probably gonna make a specific video in the future dealing with how to use HDR media in Final Cut Pro. But anyway, so this is a non-HDR clip I shot on my iPhone, and this is how it looks like straight out of camera. And now I'm just going to quickly use the same technique that I've showed you previously on that footage, and I'm going to show you the before and after so you guys can see the difference. And that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If that's the case, you know what to do. And don't hesitate to subscribe as well if you want to support my work here on YouTube. And that's pretty much it. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video.